Hi, I'm Dr. Pajari, host of the Prognosis podcast, and today's segment is called Spiritual Minutes. And my guest today is Stanley Samuel, who will be joining me for discussing questions one by one. Thank you. The question for this Spiritual Minutes is, what is the best way to cope with anger?
Anger is caused by a sense of loss. It is a sub-emotion, if I may say, of a sense of disappointment, a sense or a feeling of a need not being met, an expectation not being met, a desire not being fulfilled. And because it is caused by loss, the need to address anger begins with, the way to address anger is to start with addressing the cause, which is acknowledging the loss again. And once you acknowledge the loss and own up that sense of vulnerability, a fear that has been the reason for this anger. Fear is another reason for anger, and accepting vulnerability, accepting feeling powerless. Once this acceptance is made, then anger itself can be addressed or expressed emotionally, not to overlook the emotional expression, but again, measured emotional expression within parameters that are safe, not causing physical harm, and hopefully not causing emotional harm as well. This is not to mean that when one is angry because of whatever the reason, including loss and or fear that has caused that anger, to not express what you're feeling. One must express, but if one has given thought to it and not just blurt out in anger, then there is a measured response that will cause hopefully no physical harm and also no emotional harm.
I was thinking about the fear part that you just mentioned. One thing that I think with anger is, and I've realized this over time, a lot of people say, well, how do you cope with anger, or maybe anger in the moment? And you're right. You need to go back to the origins of anger.
Yes.
Always. You have to go back to the origins of anything to really figure out how to resolve it.
True.
But going to the origins of anger and thinking about it, but one of the stumbling blocks that I find is it's still difficult in the moment to calm oneself down when you're angry. And one of the strategies that I've had over time in my own life for how to calm that down is not in the moment calm it down, but actually, as you said, go back beforehand. I find that if you have the wrong attitude towards something, you're more prone to be angry towards it. And that might tie in a little bit to the fear or to the loss or to the expectations that you might have for something. So I feel a great way of coping with anger personally is you have to step back and maybe shift your own attitude towards that object or person that you're being angry towards.
True, yes. And I think whenever we approach situations that cause anger, there is either a notion, a prejudgment that's in our minds. We're carrying it, not necessarily actively, consciously, but subconsciously we are, just prejudging a situation. And those notions can cause someone's behavior towards us, including words or their body language, to cause this sense of fear. And then if we haven't worked on those notions, the notions that we carry beforehand, we could respond with anger. However, if we've addressed it, like you said, beforehand, if we've been, as we look into our lives, we address these notions about people, about the differences we have with other people, if we have addressed them and found reasons for why somebody may be a certain way or behave a certain way, we're more able to calm our own response to a situation that could cause anger.
So yeah, I think in coping with anger, I mean, there's anger in the moment. And then what we've been talking about is how do you approach anger almost externally before you get into a situation of being triggered. And that requires work on oneself where you start to change your attitude towards those things. I think a really good way of coping with anger is, first of all, ask yourself, what are the situations I'm getting angry in? And then from there, backtracking, you can say, well, in the moment, I'll try and calm myself down. Here are some techniques to do that. But backtracking from there and saying, what is my attitude about the situation or my attitude towards the person in this situation?
Yeah, so the things that anger me are basically, when I feel, and I say I feel because I don't know yet. I've made a pre-notion. I have a notion in my mind that someone is mistreating another person, and that causes me anger. And what I have to do is work on myself to not make that judgment and let two individuals who are interacting with each other work out their differences. Because if they haven't asked me to intervene, I don't need to be angry about how somebody else is talking to somebody else or behaving towards somebody else. Unless I see physical harm happening, of course, hopefully I would step in and hopefully I could, avoid a situation that causes physical harm. So yes, to work on myself and to clear my own notions or address those notions by approaching a situation being neutral. And not allowing those responses between two individuals to cause me an anger that is uncalled for in the moment.
Yeah, so coping with anger, I'd break it down into, again, steps of you need to think of positive things that you can do within the moment. Of course, breathing, counting, and being mindful of the fact that you're angry. But really, if you want to cope well with anger, stepping back and analyzing the instances where you are angry and learning to get an objectivity or neutrality about that and starting to reframe your attitudes towards that particular trigger. So it's really about coming back to that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching these mini Spiritual Minutes episodes. We wanted to have a more relaxed and conversational episode, and please like and subscribe and share if you like this content. It's intended to help generate questions and even answer questions and give quick guidance, in a sense, to people who are looking a little bit more for some answers. Thanks again, and keep watching. Thank you.